It's Thursday, July 23rd, and here's what you need to know by noon. Last night, the two companies we told you to watch finally reported, and even a blowout quarter spooked Wall Street. Plus, the war grinds into an 11th night and oil jumps again. A courtroom fight over who can be held without a hearing heads for the Supreme Court. And a health emergency you've probably heard nothing about is accelerating in Central Africa. Let's get into it. We start not with the war, but with your money, Pez. Because this is the story that moved overnight. After the closing bell on Wednesday, Tesla and Alphabet, Google's parent, both reported earnings, and together they were the market's first real test of the enormous bets big tech is making on artificial intelligence. Here's what happened. Tesla booked its highest revenue ever, about $28 billion, on record car deliveries, with production of its long-promised robotaxi, the Cybercab, now ramping up. And yet its profit fell by more than half. The reason is the same reason the whole market got nervous. Tesla is spending enormous sums on AI, on robotics, on new factories, and that spending is outrunning what the new products are bringing in. Its shares fell after hours. Then Alphabet, and at first glance it was a blowout. Revenue up about 24% to nearly $120 billion, and its cloud business, the part that rents out AI computing, growing an eye-watering 82%. Profit soared. It beat almost every estimate. And the stock fell anyway. Why? Because in the same breath, Alphabet told investors it will now spend around $205 billion this year building AI data centers, up sharply from its earlier plan. Investors cheered the growth and flinched at the bill. So here's why it matters, even if you don't own a share of either. These two set the tone for every other tech giant reporting over the next 2 weeks, and between them, they're a huge slice of the market that sits inside most retirement accounts. The question Wall Street is now asking out loud is the one that's been whispered for a year. The AI build-out is real, and it is enormous. But when exactly does it pay for itself? We're not here to answer that. We're here to tell you that yesterday, the market started asking it in earnest. Now the rest of today's news. First, the war, because it has not let up. Overnight brought an 11th straight night of U.S. strikes on Iran, according to the Pentagon, hitting command centers and drone and aircraft sites. Iran hit back at American forces in eastern Jordan and at a U.S. airbase in Bahrain. And the squeeze is landing on oil again. Crude topped $92 a barrel after another tanker was attacked in the Strait of Hormuz. And Yemen's Houthis declared a second waterway, the Bab el-Mandeb, at the mouth of the Red Sea, off limits to Saudi shipping. There is a diplomatic thread. Talks are underway in Pakistan, reportedly aimed at reviving the collapsed ceasefire, though President Trump says the U.S. has, quote, no interest in meeting until Iran is serious. And the human cost keeps climbing. 18 American service members have now died in this war, and Iran claims around 3,000 of its people have been killed, a figure we can't independently verify. Second, a legal fight that will shape how this country detains migrants. The Trump administration says certain people can be held in immigration detention with no bond hearing at all. No chance to ask a judge to be released while their case plays out. On Wednesday, the administration claimed a victory when one federal appeals court upheld that policy. But other appeals courts have blocked it, ordering hearings for people held longer than 90 days. When the circuits disagree like this, the Supreme Court steps in, and it has already agreed to decide the question. Supporters say the law plainly allows mandatory detention and the president is simply enforcing it. Critics call it holding people for months, with no day in court. We'll report the ruling when it comes. We won't referee it. And third, the story you've probably missed under everything else. The World Health Organization is warning that an Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is spreading at what it calls an unprecedented pace and has now crossed into neighboring Uganda. By the organization's own count, there have been roughly 2,500 infections and close to 1,000 deaths since mid-May. It's the kind of fast-moving emergency that, in a quieter week, would be leading newscasts. And it's worth your attention, even in a loud one. So what should you watch? The Federal Reserve. It meets next Tuesday and Wednesday, and here's the twist we flagged earlier this week. With the war pushing oil higher, a rate hike is genuinely on the table, the opposite of the interest rate cuts markets spent the spring expecting. And keep an eye on the rest of big tech. With Tesla and Alphabet having set a jittery tone, next week's reports from the other giants will tell us whether Wall Street's AI nerves were a one-day wobble or the start of a rethink. And that's Thursday. Caught Up. A reckoning over the price of artificial intelligence. A war that keeps reaching into the price of oil. A detention fight bound for the Supreme Court. And a health emergency worth your attention. We keep it straight, and we keep it quick. This is Know by Noon. Everything worth knowing by noon. See you tomorrow.